Do you find it difficult to come up with content ideas for your podcast? Or perhaps you got stuck during the interview with the guest where you just have nothing to ask anymore? Try Poddex today. Poddex is the best all-in-one podcast idea generation tool. You get everything from episode ideas to interesting conversation starters for interviews, engaging discussions for your live stream, and even social media content ideas. With this tool, you don't have to spend weeks trying to come up with content for an episode or unique questions for your guests. Just shuffle the cards and pick one at random, hit the record button, and get started. Now you can make better content, have more fun while you're at it, and get your viral moment. All with Poddex. Head over to poddex.com and use code C4C. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, my people. It's Mr. Al Pete with Clear Visions Podcast. Content Creators of Color 30-Day Challenge, Day 3. We're finna talk about podcasting and audio. 5 things that I got, 5 quick tips. I'm an audio engineer in the daytime and at night, but my day job is audio engineering. Shouts out to Resonant Recordings for that. So I'm gonna give y'all 5 tips, all right? Here we go. What's the word, everybody? It's your man, Mr. Al Pete from the mighty MPN.
Man, listen.
And you're now tuned in to the Clear Visions Podcast. Get ready to enjoy the show.
Are we clear?
Yeah. It's Thursday. Hopefully your Thursday is great. Man, we at the end of the week. It's been kind of heavy, man, but it's been some good heavy content action, you know, holding myself accountable for the things that I need to do. That's why I got into this challenge, man. And I'm really enjoying this challenge thus far. Still got, how many? 25 more days left. I ain't pulled a trump card out yet, but we still rocking, moving and grooving. And this weekend I plan on doing some book recording. So I'm doing this at 6:09 p.m. and my show comes out at 10. But when it comes out and y'all listen to it, it's going to be beautiful. So shouts out to the Content Creator Color gang and the community. If my people don't know, I do a Thankful Thursdays. So every Thursdays, I throw out a Thankful Thursdays on my socials and just to my peoples and just let them know that just think about what you're thankful for and find somebody and tell them how thankful you are of them. That's my thing that I do every Thursday. So I want to send that shout out again to the Content Creators of Colors. I'm sending this Thankful Thursday to y'all because y'all been such a great inspiration and I've been loving being in this committee in the community. And also to the Black Podcasters Association, man. It's been real cool in there too. So I'm glad that I found me some podcast friends, some people that are nerds just like me. So nevertheless, that's my spiel. Let's get into these 5 tips, okay? So like I said before, I am an audio engineer by day and by night, but in daytime, I do work for Resonant Recordings. I am an audio engineer, and I listen to audio all day, every day. So we're going to keep this short and sweet because I have some things I got to do. I got to record my other podcast with my friend, Crown Riri. I'll throw the commercial in there and, let you hear it or whatnot. But she will be on the show at some point as well. But with all that being said, tips for podcasting, audio. Number 1, don't talk too close to the microphone.
This is how you sound when you talk close to the microphone. Okay, it just got that viral. No, it's not cool.
And it doesn't look good for the camera either. So don't talk close to the microphone. You kind of want to depend on the microphone that you have, depending on the room that you're in or the location that you're at. Really depends on how close you would be to the microphone. A lot of people say the whole 6 feet thing, but I think the 6 feet part is kind of ridiculous. I think they're saying that because COVID, 6 feet, that type of stuff. But if you're a few inches away and if you project in a way that I project, then, you can be kind of far away or whatnot and, it'll still pick up. But if you have a light voice, you kind of want to come up a little closer if you want to be a little more sensual. And, if you got a really tiny voice, you can get a little closer. But if you got bass or whatnot, you got to back up or whatever. But just before you start doing your podcast recording, just hit play, record, see how it sounds, and then do it from another angle too. That's the tip. Just hit record, get close like this, and then stop, listen to it, and then you can be way back here. You know what I'm saying? And then record and hear it or whatever. But when you get right here, or when you get to a soft point, it just trial and error. So you want to do that, but definitely don't get too close to the microphone. Okay. Tip number 2: be in a quiet area. So if you're doing a home studio, the best place that I recommend people record at is in the closet, because you got a bunch of clothes in there, a bunch of shoes, bunch of things that's going to soak up the bouncing of the audio. I mean, of your voice. And if you have clothes everywhere, like those jackets or whatnot, even if you want to go somewhere, like if you have blankets, comforters or whatnot, if you want to hang those up, or they have like the pads that you can put on the wall, that the studio pads that they absorb the sound or whatnot, you can use those. But if you're in a home studio, definitely go in the closet. I just recommend going straight to the closet, closing yourself in there. Make sure that the dog's not barking, make sure the kid's not going crazy, make sure that your TV is off, and make sure that all your notifications are off, meaning that your phone is on silent and the notifications on your computer is off. Because you hear it just go out, out of the blue. You hear the bling, and then you talking and you making a good point, and people get distracted from that. And plus, from an audio engineer standpoint, it is very difficult to take sound that's embedded in the sound of your voice out. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, they have programs for it, but it takes away from the quality of the audio that you're that you're recording. You don't want to take quality away from the audio that you spent time thinking about the whole day, and then you go and record it, and then you got the bling in there, and it's blinging and it's ringing, and everybody knows that a phone was on. So make sure you're in a quiet spot. Please make sure that you're not in like an echoing room. An echoing room is just it's a lot. And they do have noise reductions and plugins that will take away the echoes or whatnot. But for pre-production, definitely just make sure that you're not in an echoey room, and make sure you're in a very quiet place, and make sure that that your microphones are set correctly and stuff like that, and you have a very good projection and sound of it. All right. Tip number 3: volume low, medium. So a lot of people start off with the volume being high. Now, if you start off with the volume being high, and let's just say you start laughing. You ever heard a podcast where somebody's talking, and then next thing you know, it's like a laugh, and the laugh catch them off guard, and it's like, and they have this big old file. It's like a wave file. It looked very big, but then like when you try to make it smaller, it just sounds very distorted. So when you have your volume, I would say do 25%. I would say go 25% of the volume up, or you can do like 3 o'clock. Well, no, it'd be 9 o'clock. Think about the clock. It'd be at 9 o'clock. And then 50% would be at 12. And then 75% would be at 3 o'clock. Okay. And then full would be like 6. So just think about it like that. That's if you have a knob that goes, a knob that you turn or whatnot. But you want to just test it out and just make sure, like if you look at the audio aspect of it, you'll see that the audio be jumping. Like the green to be jumping when you're talking. And then when it gets to yellow, it's like, it's okay. It's in a good threshold. But then when you get to that red, that's when you know it's like, no, don't do it. So make sure that the volumes are low. Make sure that volumes are low to medium, because for audio engineer to mix it, they can be able to give it a little bit of gain without it being like taken away from the audio. And all we would have to do is really put a noise reduction to it, because once you bring it up, you'll bring a little bit more sound that's been picked up that people really can't hear. So make sure that your volumes is low, medium, not high. All right. 4th tip: don't overtalk the guests. That's this is kind of like my pet peeve. So when you're in interview style, right? You have the guests. No, you have the host that's talking, right? And then the host asks the guest a question, and then it might be a good point, like, and then that's not good, because in the midst of mixing and editing, especially if you have a single track. Now it's a different story if you have dual tracks. So if you have one track for the guest, one track for the host, that works, because the audio engineer can be able to play around a little bit and take some things off, right? Or kind of move the file to where it don't seem like it's like over talking. But For safe measures, when you ask the question, if you're the host, let the guests talk and let the guests get their answer through and go from there. And another tip, a small tip with that, if you give the questions ahead of time before you do the interviews, the guests will know how to answer those in a timely manner so it won't seem like they're rambling and it won't seem like you're just picking some things out of the blue. All right. So, and speaking of picking things out of the blue when you get stuck, shouts out to Pod Deck for being a sponsor. So please go to Pod Deck. Y'all heard the commercial at the beginning. Go to poddeck.com, get some, helps you with all your interviews. But all that talking in the midst of, when the guest is talking, the host, the over talking, yeah, try to eliminate that as much as possible. All right. So my last tip, get a ritual and do it before recording so it can knock out the nerves. All right. So people can tell if you're nervous. All right. If you sound like you're nervous, you sound like you're trembling like this and I don't know what to do. Oh God. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So whatever your ritual is, take some time before you do pre-production. I would give myself 30 minutes to an hour before the show starts to do pre-production. So you could be doing pre-production and you could be doing the ritual in the pre-production. That's part of pre-production too. So when I say rituals, so for me, I like to have a light beverage. I just just to kind of knock off the anxiety a little bit because I'm doing so much. I'm making sure that the volume is correct. I'm making sure the mics are straight. I'm making sure my guests know what they want to do, all that stuff. So I just had me a light drink and I light up an incense and it kind of mellows me out, and then I just go ahead with the business. So, a ritual you can go work out before you record a podcast. You can listen to some hype music and get yourself going. Anything that's going to knock those nerves off, because when you're nervous and you have that anxious feeling, it's going to project in that audio, and it's going to come out when you start talking. And people are going to be like, are they sure about what they're talking about? I don't know. They sounded very nervous about it. So do they know about this topic? I don't know. So you don't want that. So those are my 5 tips. I'll run through them again. Number 1, don't talk too close to the microphone. Number 2, be in a quiet area when you record. Number 3, volume low, medium, not high. Number 4, don't overtalk the guests or the host. Don't overtalk. Overtalking is overbearing. And last but not least, get a ritual and do it before recording so you can get those nerves out and, do the woo-sa, woo-sa. All right. So I'm going to play this commercial. This is Flowers for the Culture podcast. Me and my friend Crown Riri. That's what we do. I'm going to play that real quick. And when I come back, I'm going to pull a card and then I'm going to be done, man. Clear Visions podcast.
Man, listen.
Hi, this is Crown Riri.
And this is Mr. Al Pete requesting you to press play and listen to our podcast, Flowers for the Culture, the show that gives flowers to people, places, and things that have influence on the culture.
And we also remind the culture to give flowers now. Don't wait.
So check us out. Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. npn-llc.com. Everywhere. We everywhere. Please check us out, y'all. Clear Visions podcast. We are bike. BYKE. For my Duval folks, back for the world. It's Mr. LP, man. Thank y'all for listening. Icebreaker time. Shouts out to Pod Decks. I'm pulling from the deck again. I'm not looking. I'm just letting it ride. I'm letting it ride. And here we go. This is like what I did before. So what could you do all day and not consider it a waste of time? It's easy. Listen to music. Just listen to music. Listen to music, study music, research music. I would love to crate dig for like hours. If I can just go to a record store and just like pick records, I definitely would do that for sure. Without a doubt. That would not be wasting time. And just listen to music and anything. Producing music, writing music, composing music, sequencing music, arranging music, whatever, anything dealing with music. Even if I'm watching a music documentary, that would not be a waste of my time. Not a waste of my time at all. You can't waste time with music, okay? It just puts you in that mood. That's what it's supposed to do, right? So, yeah, so shout out to Pod Deck. That's my car. And like I said, I'm pulling the car every time, every episode that I do. So, shouts out to Pod Decks again. So, all right. I'm out of here. This was a quick one. Well, no, it wasn't. I'm at like 15 minutes, but nevertheless, hopefully you enjoyed this quick spurt of things. And if you have any questions about audio engineering, please feel free to reach out to me, mralpete@gmail.com. If you want to get some editing done, hit me up, mralpete@gmail.com. I'm going to work on getting some content to where I'm showing y'all how I do my editing process, my editing, mixing, and mastering process. I would love to show that a little bit more, but I'll work on that and get it out there as much as possible. So make sure you go to mralpete.com for all my other episodes. Go to mpn-llc.com to check out the Neighborhood Podcast Network, which I will be introducing in the midst of this 30-day challenge. So I'm going to be bringing some of my neighbors in and we'll be talking some stuff. So Mr. Al Pete on Instagram, Mr. Al Pete MPN on Twitter, and all that great stuff, man. Y'all be good. I see y'all on day 4. All right. Clear Visions Podcast was produced and engineered by myself, along with the intro and outro music. Subscribe to this podcast that's available on mralpete.com, mpn-llc.com, and on all podcast platforms. Thanks for listening, everyone. Building but becoming to the top.